Hi again, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Celebrating Act Two. Art and I are with John Mariani, the famous world traveler, gourmand, and the editor of the newsletter. John, fill in the blank. Let's hear.
Mariani's virtual gourmet newsletter, free to everybody if you go to
Go to.
johnmariani.com.
There you go. Thank you. We got to get that plug in every time.
Thank you.
So
Anyway, good to
anyway,
see
John, we recently spoke to you about you were planning a trip to Italy, and have you gone? And if you have, how was it?
I done gone, and very, very happy that I did for all sorts of reasons I shall tell you, insofar as I've said in the past that tourism, massive tourism, has pretty much ruined the major cities of Rome, Venice, Florence, even now Milan, Naples, and Capri. I mean, you just don't want to go there unless you want to go in January, and even then, because you will be cramped, you will be pushed over the Rialto Bridge by crowds. So you have to go elsewhere. Fortunately, Italy offers a whole lot of wonderful elsewhere, and that was my plan. So I landed in Rome airport, but immediately rented a car. First thing first, if you're going to rent a car, yes, you should get an international driver's license before leaving. I have been many times to Europe and to Italy where nobody asked for it. This time they did, and I didn't have one. So I said, well, I said, I don't know if it was Avis or whatever it was with. And they said, well, I don't know, you can try this 10 other rent-a-car. Well, I found one rent-a-car that says, no, we don't require it. And I got it, but I will not leave without it next time. Piece of paper that you carry with you. So that's the first thing. So we got a rent-a-car. Not very expensive, really at all. You get all the insurance you can. It doesn't cost that much more. It could be $7 a day or something, because for all the obvious reasons, not least of which in Italy there is a lot of car theft. So we got in the car and immediately headed south of Rome. We did not go through Rome. We went head south to Rome, to the lovely city of Frascati, where the Frascati wine comes from. And we stayed at this extraordinary villa, which had once been a palazzo, just up the hill from the main part of the city, and it was absolutely exquisite. I mean, it cost us $110. We went down into the city to eat, see the cathedral and everything, and there now at this point you are in the province that is still Rome. So the food is Roman. So we ate wonderful Roman food, cacio e pepe and amatriciana and so forth. And we ate very well. And as I was to find out yet again all over Italy, that prices for food have just not risen in restaurants. The average restaurant, we paid $12 to $15 for a very full plate of pasta. Lamb might cost $22, fish might cost $23 or less, and you can get the house wines, which are very, very good these days, for 10, 15 euros. Okay, so that was a pleasant surprise. We didn't spend very much. We then went from Frascati, which I highly recommend, and started driving. We stopped at Caserta, which has one of the, if not the largest tended public garden in the world. And it's quite extraordinary, and you could spend hours there. And they have an English garden, and they have an Italian, I think they call it a French garden. One is very manicured, one looks beautifully wild and rustic. The city of Caserta is not worth going to, but it's a World Heritage Site, and anybody interested in gardening and landscape should go there. Again, we ate very well for $50 for the two of us. And then from there, we went on, we kept heading east. The whole reason for going there that we used as a pretext for going there was we were going to a wedding in Lecce. So we were heading towards the wedding, and So that night we stayed at a B&B, and I'm very queasy about B&Bs because they're not hotels and they may not have the amenities. But we really lucked out. We had two very modern B&Bs, great showers, lots of room, good beds and stuff, and they all cost $110, $115. If you spend $150 outside of the major cities in Italy, especially off season, which it is now, I mean, you're going to be staying in quite a nice place. That's not always true. We had one place at the end, which is also about $110, and it was what you expect from B&B. They're very, very basic, and you had to get the key from the owner, and he had to show up and call his house, and but that's what a B&B usually is. But these days, it's just quite remarkable when you can spend that little money. Or you go to a hotel for another $15, $20. But you get a lot. You can get a lot more if it's a really good one. So from there, we went to Matera, which was the city that they filmed the last James Bond movie, in this very kind of eerie-looking cave city where I'd been before, and it's ancient, it's primordial looking, and we stayed in a cave last time, which you can do. Well, Matera is now overrun. It's become talked about a great deal recently, and that movie really put it over the top. So we arrived there, we're talking about October, not high season, and the place was packed. What I didn't know is that Matera, attached to it, has a much more modern city, which is quite beautiful and Baroque. We enjoyed going through there. And we returned to a restaurant I had known from before. Food was great. Food was, again, we splurged on a good bottle of wine. Of course, the whole thing was $56. We then went to the wedding, which I won't talk about, but it was lovely. And then headed up the coastline, the Adriatic coastline, to enter into the region of Abruzzo. Lecce, and the wedding was in Perugia and the Puglia, rather, and then we headed up the coastline to Abruzzo, where my people came from. And most people in any country, whether it's China or whatever, love to go back. Just love to go back to the old country. Not that they came there, but your bloodlines are there. And I think that everybody I've ever talked to who has actually set foot in their hometown feels it, and feels close, and feels embedded, and wonders that people either left voluntarily or escaped to come to a better life, which usually worked out in America or South America, for reasons almost exclusively for poverty. It's very, very important. So we went to the town of Vasto, which used to be just a terrible place at the turn of the last century, but now is quite lovely, has a marina. And then we headed back through Abruzzo, through tiny little towns, and went back eventually and got to the Rome airport, and took, well, we didn't really take off because the international airlines now make it mandatory that you're going to be waiting for at least a 4.5-hour delay because the parking light went out on the plane, and I mean, it's just become an epidemic. And the more you fly, the worse it seems to get. But yeah, Italy is an enormous bargain at this point. If you go to Rome, you're going to be spending only a little bit more, quite frankly, but the hotels are going to cost you a lot. I mean, $300 for a hotel in Rome is pretty second-rate hotel. 500, 600, 700, then you're getting the best that Rome or Florence has to offer. But and Venice is very, very expensive. So stay out of those cities, except, as I say, in January, when it's not warm, except in the south and in Naples, but it'll be very much less overrun, and it costs a lot less, which is quite remarkable these days. And get an international driver's license before you go.
Now, John, you went in October, I think. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And is that considered off season? You mentioned January as off season. Is October, the fall, pretty much off season as well?
The season has extended in the major cities straight through November.
Wow.
And last year, when I was in Italy, that I found, first of all, it was very hot, very, very hot. And last year I found that October was still popping So you don't have to go. Well, you can imagine that December, because of the holidays, is going to be tight, except early December, because nobody travels in early December because they're getting ready for Christmas. And then after New Year's, unless you're going skiing in Cortino Tampezzo in the north and in the Alps, of course, not that many people want to go to Venice, especially if you saw the movie Don't Look Now with Rogers, what's his name? Sutherland. What was his first name?
Donald
Sutherland.
Yeah.
Very eerie movie. Takes place there because it gets very foggy in Venice. But it's got the same monuments, and the food's going to be cheaper. But the real off season is just a little window at this point. It's just January through March 1st, and then after that it starts boom, right over again.
Yeah. And do you think it's equally as true during the season that the smaller towns are a better bet for price as well as availability?
Absolutely. But I was just amazed that again, I understood Matera because it's gotten a lot of publicity, but there's a town I barely even heard of called Monopoly, like the game Monopoly. And it was highly recommended. It's called the White City because of all of the white limestone, lovely city. And we went, and boy, the bus tours and people taking pictures, it was teeming with people. So, and that was late October.
Yeah, well, you're like me. I don't like the crowds, but a lot of people that travel want the bus tours. They want I don't know that they want crowds per se, but they want the convenience of all the popular services.
Well, you know, if you're going to go to Disney World, you're going to wait 4 hours online to get into a 7-minute thrill ride.
And people do that.
Yeah. Also, if you're going to, let's say, in this off season, but you want to go to Rome, you want to see those sites, but you don't want to. Is there a public transportation that would allow you to stay, let's say, on the periphery and then come in every day and do that? Is that advisable, or is that just too much of a hassle?
You mean stay just outside of the city?
Yeah. And then commute in?
Yeah. The buses run as they should, more or less. There's a subway, but nobody takes the subway in Rome. Everybody hates the subway. As a matter of fact, I asked the concierge about, I said, "Where's the bus stop?" And he says, "I don't know. I haven't taken the bus in 20 years." But it's such a great walking city. Do not depend upon Uber. Uber is not a big deal in Italy. They do have taxis, which are reliable. But again, traffic can make a taxi bill just go way up. But I mean, my best advice is, if you're going to go to Rome, and you should. Rome's a great city, in Venice and Florence. Stay just outside the center as much as possible. Look for deals and book your tickets online to get into the Vatican and places like that. There are early, get in early if you have your ticket. At least you don't have to, but still going to be a line. But we'll move.
Yeah.
So
it sounds
basically,
like you had a good time.
Yeah, and that Italy is open for business.
Boy, yeah, and they're not on. Well, I was about to say they're not on sale, but the prices are so low that it's always a bargain.
That's great to hear.
For more on Celebrating Act Two, visit our webpage, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and tell your friends. Celebrating Act Two is the user manual for the second half of your life.